This program brought to you by Warringah Park.
Something extraordinary happens.
It's the horse and the rider, that's the team.
When a gangly off the tracker
He was overlooked as a racehorse. They felt he had no talent whatsoever.
pairs with a girl from the outback.
Ever since she was tiny, she's always only ever wanted to do eventing.
And he's jumped a fabulous clear round.
You don't come and work for us unless the dream is Olympics and to be the best.
And a series of sliding door moments
I was just in the right place at the right time.
send them on a journey together,
He's a gritty little Australian.
reaching the highest of highs
You'll never believe this.
and the lowest of lows.
It was horrendous. I knew she was hurt badly.
Quick.
It's scary and we both got our lives on the line really, and to have a horse stick with you through that is incredible.
Go Hazel!
The big goal is Tokyo. Hazel and Clifford, they're really up to it.
This is the story of when Hazel met Clifford.
It's been a hell of a journey.
Dead set Aussie legends in the making. Adelaide Parklands, South Australia, the host of the Australian International 4-Star 3-day event.
Crowds were pouring in to watch their stars in action.
An equine triathlon, the only one of its type in the Southern Hemisphere.
The Adelaide 4-Star is the only event in Australia in 3-day eventing which is equal to the Olympics, and so it's really, really significant.
For elite Australian eventers, the pinnacle is to earn a place in the 4-star class at this event, holding the potential to launch their career into the equestrian games and further onto the Olympic team.
Olympic level and World Equestrian Games being the premier, as in the 4-star, the most challenging. Not many athletes are at that level, so there's only 6 4-star events held around the world, and 5 are in the Northern Hemisphere and 1 is in the Southern Hemisphere, and Adelaide is very privileged to host that.
When you ride here, there's an extra pressure, and I think for Australia it's a fundamental stepping stone towards, team riders and so on. If they want to sort of come across the pond and be competitive in the rest of the world, they need to be competitive in this environment.
Eventing is not a sport for the faint of heart.
The winners are dour operators. They just keep getting up after the knockdown, but they've also got to be real thinkers.
It requires top-level skills in 3 completely different disciplines: dressage, cross-country and show jumping.
Someone asked me the other day, can you change your horse? Well, no, the horse has to be good at all disciplines, and that's what makes it such a challenge.
Well, we're down to our final horse here in the Mitsubishi Australia CCI 4-Star.
Relative newcomers Hazel Shannon and her horse Warringah Park Clifford are preparing to compete at the 2017 4-star event.
Number 99.
This is the beginning. This is what all the work's been about, and Hazel and Clifford are probably as good as they've ever been. It's been a bit of a fairy tale lead in. Now it's so finely that balance that just the shift of the wind can change the results, but right now we're looking real good. The goal is a gold medal at Tokyo in 2020, and this is just part of the lead up. Winning here is one of the accolades that we feel she will take on her way on that journey.
Equestrians aim for the World Equestrian Games and the Olympics, so they're 2 big chances to be overseas and ride for your country. And this event has a huge amount of importance towards selection. The ideal situation was it'll be smooth sailing and you'll get picked and your horse will be happy and healthy and you'll be happy and healthy, but it's never that easy.
Both Clifford and Hazel competed at the 4-star for the first time last year, and Hazel's all too familiar with the challenges ahead of them over the next few days in this class.
Cross country is probably, I don't know if I'd say, would you say it's more important than the others?
Well, 4-star possibly.
Yeah.
See, at 3-star you can win on a good dressage score and just go slow cross country. Whereas at 4-star, it's pretty much make or break. You've got to do a good job in that, otherwise you're not competitive.
I think, well, I guess the cross country is huge because you can get really hurt. So, it's dangerous. Here you go, Clifford, you got a little friend now.
But despite the looming danger, Hazel has worked with the 12-year-old thoroughbred long enough to have every faith in him to get her through the rounds.
Partnership with a horse and rider is a huge thing. So some people have partnerships with some great horses and some people don't. So I was just lucky to have a partnership with him, and he's very talented and his personality is very unique. You don't have many horses who try quite as hard as he does.
Just how this unlikely combination got to be here at all, let alone having stolen the eventing spotlight, is a story that years before no one could have predicted. Hazel's hometown of Machilba in far north Queensland is about as remote and non-eventful as you can get.
It's a little tiny town and it's got one shop, which is a petrol station, a post office and a little general store. And it's got a little school, and this main road doesn't have lines, it's just one lane. It is bitumen though. It is most well known for being taken off the map for 10 years and Machilba not realising.
But despite its quirks, it's here, growing up in this small farming settlement, that Hazel's future took shape.
Hazel's always been a bit of a quiet achiever. Whatever she did, she always seemed to dedicate herself to. She did very well at school. She could have gone on and done anything from school. She could have gone and been a vet or a doctor or anything, but she's always chosen the horses.
Me and my brother were born into riding. He's a camp drafter. When he was younger, I think the thing that turned him off any of the English disciplines was the jumpers. He was not wearing jumpers.
For Hazel, the path she chose to follow for riding was cemented with an innocuous childhood sliding door moment.
Many, many years ago, in the days of VHS, I recorded this event off the telly, and I remember her watching that, just glued to the screen, completely mesmerised by it, and she's, never looked back since.
That pivotal moment was to be the first of many. As soon as she finished school, Hazel headed south to the Ryans Newcastle Equestrian Centre in New South Wales, a place for only those who trainer and Olympian Heath Ryan believes have got what it takes.
She hadn't ridden eventing before she came to us. She comes from a stock horse camp drafting background.
Lovely, come back round to the right, just watch those quarters don't drift out.
And she turned up and she was very quiet. She was very comfortable with the work, and we just realised the kid wasn't just going to roll over in a week or two.
Very nice. Jump. That was super, give him a pat.
The staff, the people that end up working for us are the ones that are resilient enough not to ditch their dream. As soon as you lose your dream and you don't want to be the best, then we work too hard to justify it.
That's good. Give me a little bit of left shoulder in. Left.
So you don't come and work for us unless the dream is Olympics and to be the best.
Having proven she had the passion to continue, Hazel faced her next hurdle.
Well, I just started at Heath. Well, I've been there for probably a year, and I didn't really have a horse to ride.
That's when she was introduced to Clifford, a nondescript horse languishing in a paddock right next door.
Clifford had been bred in Tasmania by a lady called Sue Devereaux to race, and so he was too slow, and her sister has an equestrian centre next door to us at Heath's, and so she sent it up to her sister and said, can you do something with him? I want him to go and do something else.
I'd use it with my staff a little bit. The horse would get passed on a little bit. It wasn't a very special horse, good for a 12-year-old at a pony club meeting, and then Hazel got him.
No one was going to fight me for him because he was sort of little and unimpressive and was just a funny little chestnut thoroughbred out in the paddock. At the time I thought, well, it'd be really great if I could get to 1 star because it'd be really great for me to sort of go through that and learn that, and the owners would have been happy and Clifford would have been happy. And anyway, we get to 1 star and then I go 2 star and then 3 star, and sort of that's how the journey started.
It felt like destiny had led Hazel to Clifford.
Could Hazel Shannon hold on to her overnight lead into the show jumping?
And together, almost as if out of nowhere, they shocked the world by winning the 2016 four-star event.
Well, delighted she is, and delighted with Clifford. It is a win, and a four-star win for Hazel Shannon.
Oh, it's massive. It's what I've been aiming for my short life. Oh, don't cry.
I mean, this little horse from Tasmania and this little girl from North Queensland won last year. It's an amazing feat.
What a competition it has been.
If you told me how he was going to turn out and the partnership I was going to have with him and what I was going to do with him, there's no way I would have believed you.
The win was incredible.
Her performances were just starting to become Australian headlines.
And catching the attention of the Australian Olympic selectors was a big step towards the dream.
In the lead up to Adelaide four-star, Hazel was hot. She was virtually unbeaten and cleaning up everywhere. We thought that Hazel should have been seriously considered for the Rio de Janeiro Olympics, but the selectors just felt that she hadn't done enough big performances, and so she was left off the plane.
Though she may not have made it onto the team that year, the notoriety they had gained quickly turned everything the duo had worked for on its head and threatened to become their undoing.
I was on the verge of losing Clifford. It's not something I like to think about.
Clifford had become a huge asset overnight and a business decision for owner Wendy Ward.
Wendy, our neighbour, had financial difficulties and was forced to sell him.
There was a lot of interest, of course, from overseas, and the world was very interested.
And this caused a lot of grief for us because we could see a gold medal coming with Hazel and Clifford.
The Olympic dream they had worked so hard towards was about to be ripped right from under them.
Hazel and Clifford are about to launch into the world, and we were gone.
Coming up,
I was desperate.
the incredible twist
You never believe this.
no one saw coming,
It's just a fairy tale story.
and tension
Hot little bastard.
before the first test.
We're in trouble here.
After the glory of Hazel Shannon's 2016 four-star win, Clifford had turned from a daggy horse to a superstar overnight, catapulting him onto the world stage.
And what a triathlete he is. Great at all three phases.
But their triumphant win was bittersweet. Hazel and trainer Heath Ryan were about to have their Olympic dreams ripped away.
I was on the verge of losing Clifford. It was very close. It's not something I like to think about.
Hey, Wen. Hey, Rosie. Long time no see.
Because of the international attention, owner Wendy Ward was suddenly flooded with offers to buy Clifford.
Wendy was our next door neighbour, and Alan, it was Wendy and Alan, and anyway, Alan died. And that changed everything from a financial point of view for Wendy. And really, the only real valuable thing that she had was Clifford. There was a lot of interest, of course, from overseas, and the world was very interested.
There was no way financially that Hazel and Heath could compete in the international bidding war, which had Heath frantically trying any avenue he could think of.
I was desperate, and I was trying to secure the horse for Hazel. And I had people that I was working on, and I thought, might buy him anyway. At the end of the day, I couldn't make that happen. And then all of a sudden, Wendy said, "That's it, I've got to sell."
Then a breakthrough at the 11th hour. With nothing to lose, Heath contacted Terry Snow, a man he had briefly met only a few weeks before.
I'd obviously heard about Terry and his property, Willinga Park, because it's pretty exceptional.
I worked all night with Hazel on a proposal, and we went through until the early hours of the morning, just getting this proposal, which I sent to Terry.
Waiting to hear back was tense. They knew they didn't have much time.
Struck me this is a typical little Aussie battler pulling herself up by her bootstraps to greatness. And I said to Heath, I'll help you.
And just like that, the dream was back.
I think in 4 hours, the deal was closed. I've never seen anything like it. We were gone. We were gone for all the money. We're back in. And we're going, yeah, never believe this. It's fantastic. And Terry's very interested in the Tokyo adventure. And it's just a fairy tale story. None of us can believe. We're still just shaking our heads.
Now, back at the Australian International 3-Day in Adelaide.
Do you think you look nice in
your head? Yeah, I like it.
It's the first 4-star event Terry Snow and his wife Jeanette have attended since securing the horse and renaming him Willinga Park Clifford.
He normally lives in the paddock, so he's not so keen being locked up in a stable all the time, but he's long-suffering, but he's in amazing shape. Yeah.
She's a very impressive young lady and very determined and very clever. And I think under Heath they've done a wonderful job with Clifford. And I'm very excited to be part of the ride.
It's one thing to impress Clifford's new owner, but Hazel's focus remains on getting the Olympic selectors' attention with a back-to-back win to secure a spot on the Australian team. An added pressure.
Hazel wants to win. She wants to do as well as she can. She's a driven little number. And the pressure for her to do well that she puts on herself is nearly more than what anyone else puts on her.
Today, Hazel and Clifford face their first test in the tri-discipline event. And unfortunately, it's Clifford's Achilles heel.
Clifford is a straight thoroughbred, so traditionally the thoroughbreds are a little feisty and sort of hot and likely to experience tension. He's a very quiet thoroughbred, but his genes do come through in the dressage test, and he does spoil his test often just by having a little bit of a rush of blood and getting a little bit hot in the canter especially.
Dressage is a kind of equine ballet. It requires enormous strength and concentration, and the rider needs to appear to be doing nothing.
It's a program of patterns of movement of the horse in sync with the rider, and it's the grace and flow and stride and then more fine motor movements that the horse and the rider do.
It's no mistake that dressage comes before the cross-country and show jumping in this equine triathlon.
It's a really tough section, especially with horses that are primed to gallop the following day, primed to go over fences with courage that no one in their right mind would jump. And so telling them that they're going to do, a calm, relaxed sort of floor gymnastics in that 20 by 60 arena is sometimes a difficult thing for some of these athletes to achieve, and that goes for the riders as well.
To support her in her time of need, Hazel's extended family have made the journey south for the 3 days of competition.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, good.
But her mum knows all too well to keep her distance.
Oh, I haven't been able to give Hazel advice since she was about 5. So no, she's got, with Heath, the best help she could have.
Mum, any chance she gets to come down and see any of my events, she does, and she'll be there for as long as she can. She's ridden English disciplines more throughout her life. And Dad is definitely more of a camp drafter than anything else. He used to come to the events after the dressage because he can't quite understand the dressage.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We've been trying to get him relaxed all week.
Dressage has been the weakest phase of the 3-day for her normally, so it'll be interesting to see this afternoon. We're very excited because that can sort of set the scene for the weekend. You get a bit too far behind on the dressage and you've got a bit of catch-up to do.
Go on.
Hazel will need to work Clifford especially hard in this 4-star class to stay up with some of this year's tough competition.
It's not that he's not good at it, but getting him to score is difficult.
Let's do some medium canters, collected canters down the long side.
He's born to go fast on the racetrack.
Didn't work hard enough on him in that short side.
Minutes before Hazel and Clifford's test, Heath's tactic is to work the extra energy out of their thoroughbred, but it's a fine line between removing the jitters and working him too hard before his big moment.
That's it. We just want him to do the mediums and be relaxed.
To add to Clifford's apparent tension,
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Righto. Righto, so you can canter across now.
just moments before their test, another distraction: rain.
The horses don't love being ridden in the rain. The big thing about the rain is that it can change the footing.
Then the call comes for Clifford and Hazel to enter the arena.
So ladies and gentlemen, last year's winner here at the Adelaide 4-Star is history about to repeat itself.
And Heath has grave concerns.
So he's really stirred up, so we're in trouble here. Yeah.
Coming up, a tense test
Bloody disaster, that one.
yields a surprising result.
She's not out of it if she can keep that up.
And the cross-country track
The distance is nearly impossible.
that has everyone terrified.
You can die.
It's scary when things go wrong. They can go really wrong.
We're feeling sick about today.
At the Australian International 3-day event in Adelaide, the rain has been constant leading up to the 4-star dressage test, making the grounds undesirably soggy.
We would like a little bit better weather, but still, you can't help that.
The wet can disadvantage the horse's footing in a dressage test that's designed to measure precision. But Hazel's trainer Heath is more concerned about Clifford's tense mood.
Hazel Shannon riding Terence Snow's at Willinga Park, Clifford.
He's a little tight. This is the canter, so we'll just see. It is possible he'll just relax all of a sudden once he goes in. Here we go.
This is a combination that we hope they're going to be the first back-to-back winners of the Australian International, aiming to ride for Australia at the Olympics.
Good halt.
Since last year's win, both Hazel and Heath have worked very hard on Clifford's technique, knowing that his temperament often gets the better of him.
As a dressage horse, he's got a good walk, he's got a very ordinary trot and a very ordinary canter that's a little bit on the forehand. Bit of a weak spot coming up here, these medium trots. It's going to be good one day, but it's just a little weak. As a dressage horse, you go, ooh, not so good. And that is his weakest phase. However, he is all heart. He will try 110%. There, she's got 7s, 6s and 7s for that entry halt salute. So she's not out of it if she can keep that up.
Good scores in the dressage takes a little pressure off the rest of the competition and will help to impress the Olympic selectors.
Oh, this is better, go on.
Watching his ears, flicking backwards and forwards, listening to Hazel.
That's good. Picking up the reins for the medium walk. A little anxious, but he's still there.
Oh, Clifford.
Oh, he's picked up the wrong lead in the canter. That wasn't good. Come on, go down, Clifford, just relax. Yeah, he's just got two 4s for that strike off, which is a bloody disaster, that one. It's the half pass coming. Yeah, they're not scoring him big.
Not quite scoring the high marks, but this is a 3-phase competition and anything can happen.
Wasn't brilliant, but it was okay. I've been following the scores, but that won't be a top score. But it'll leave him in the hunt.
A disappointing round puts Hazel and Clifford on a back foot for the remainder of the competition. But predicting a horse's behaviour is half the luck.
Hot little bastard. We just got to remember that we got to hammer him, in the future. We kind of know that, but he's been working so well. We just can't get fooled like that.
I'm pretty disappointed with it. He blew up a bit, and we know that can be a problem, and I thought we had it under control, a bit more than we ended up having it.
With what you had, you did a good job. Yeah, we got to be braver out here.
In the future, I'll probably try and work him a bit harder in the final bit before I go in, just to take the edge off his sort of tension a little bit. But it's sort of a fine line. I'm a bit nervous about working him too hard before he needs to do a big gallop tomorrow.
Out of a total of 20 riders, Hazel and Clifford are sitting in 10th position on 54.5 points. It doesn't put them out of the competition, but it will just make the days ahead all the more trying. Another day, another test. Putting the disappointment of yesterday's dressage results behind them, Hazel and Heath are focused on preparing for the cross country.
Clifford and Hazel, we're feeling sick about today, but this is where they're very good, even when they're feeling sick.
Cross country is a gruelling test of endurance and unflinching trust between horse and rider as they take on combinations of jumps against the clock. And on this year's course, there's one particular section that has everyone nervous.
Now, the wicked thing about this is when he jumps the first apex, he's pointing completely the wrong way for the second apex, which, if anything, is more difficult. So he'll only get to look at the second apex. In 0.5 of a second, he'll become aware that he has to negotiate a very, very difficult fence. And again, the distance is nearly impossible. Not impossible, nearly impossible. But it has got us all looking a shade pale at the moment.
The more difficult combinations of jumps are known as questions. They ask if the horse and rider are capable.
Of course, a lot of it is about managing shape. And so, you get the horses going, let the rider settle the nerves, get into a rhythm so the horses feel good. Then you ask the questions, and then towards the end of the course, quite often you spend a lot of time the last 4 or 5 fences because the horses are getting tired, and you've got to keep them interested. You've got to keep the riders respecting the fences, you've got to keep the horses respecting the fences and paying attention.
In preparation, riders are entitled to walk the course 5 times through before the competition. But the first time the horse will experience the jumps is when it counts.
One of the main things that we're looking at is the combinations and the striding between the combinations.
A little tricky when you get up here.
So it's my job as a rider to decide how many strides me and Clifford are going to put in between these combinations and what angles and speeds we're approaching them on.
So step it out.
Some of the fences will demand accuracy. Some of them will demand striding between the fences of different length. The conventional stride is 12 feet, but sometimes to make time, we will actually take a stride out. Sometimes if you decide to add in or turn a little tighter than everyone else, instead of a 12-foot stride, Clifford will come down to a 6-foot stride. He can do that.
Can't imagine this fence causing you grief.
Well, if you're going to do the 5, you wouldn't want to be holding the last few strides into the 5.
I think if you did do 5 and you were holding, you could, as long as you kept kicking, it would be fine. It's just that the horse would work hard here.
It's really important that I get Clifford there accurately, especially on a long course when they're going to be feeling tired. You don't want the horse to have to make up for the rider's inaccuracies.
Performance on the cross-country course is a fine balance, pushing both horse and rider to their utmost of limits.
Hazel will give this a very serious shake. She's very steady under pressure, very. She's brave.
Well, have a think about it.
Yeah. Brave has an interesting definition. That means she's not fearless. That's not the case. She's terrified. But she will assess the situation, and if she's trained well enough and she feels the horse is capable, she'll go where other people won't go.
But when it comes to the cross-country, no amount of training or experience rids Hazel of her pre-test nerves.
You can die here, so it's the riders against the course builder.
You never fully know what's going to happen out there, even once you've done it a few years. It's never the same. There's always different things, and horses, they're not machines, they're like people. You can't tell what's going to happen on the day and how they're feeling and whatnot, but I have a lot of faith in him, so I'm very lucky to have such a good horse. But it's still scary. When things go wrong, they can go really wrong, and people and horses can get hurt.
In her short career, Hazel has already suffered 2 very serious injuries, something that is always back of mind.
There was a very difficult fence there, and Clifford made one of his very few errors at this fence, and he flipped over and came down on top of Hazel, and she broke her pelvis in 5 places, and it was horrendous. I knew she was hurt badly.
I ended up with bleeding on the brain and I think some broken bones in my face. The doctors were telling my parents that I wasn't going to be the same person anymore, and they were sort of expecting the worst for when I woke up. And anyway, it was a bit of a miracle. If you go into this sport, you know that can happen. Maybe you don't think it's going to happen to you, especially when you're younger, but when it does happen to you, it maybe just makes you realise that you're not like invincible.
The first is away on course.
Fortunately for Hazel, the running order today means she'll be able to approach the cross-country armed with extra caution.
Hazel actually is running 3rd last. You got this a beautiful spot to be, in that she's got the sit and she can watch other people experimenting with these distances and just work out what's real and what's fantasy in everyone's mind. Whoa!
It's the perfect opportunity for Heath and Hazel to run through last-minute tactics for the event.
It's like she just hesitated in, and when you're just waiting like that, you open that up.
Yeah.
And moments before Hazel's turn, the unthinkable happens. Luckily, in this instance, both horse and rider suffer no more than penalties off their time. But it's a reminder of the dangers that our duo are not immune to.
It's scary, and we've both got our lives on the line, really, and to have a horse stick with you through that is incredible.
Go, Hazel!
And now the moment of truth for Clifford and Hazel as they take off out of the gates. It's a tense wait as Hazel guides Clifford through over 6,500 metres of terrain and fences that he's never seen before.
It's hard to explain your emotions when you're watching your daughter go around, and we always have our heart in our mouth.
Coming up,
Come on.
the gruelling race
One stride.
takes an unfortunate turn.
You're just disappointed that it's happened.
You know, we've worked very hard for this.
We haven't lost the war. We've had a battle that set us back.
Four-star eventer Hazel Shannon and her horse Clifford are off to a flying start in their cross-country phase at the Australian International 3-day event in Adelaide.
Hazel Shannon comes through the rail, ditch and triple arrowhead brush. This combination are looking so confident across the country.
After a disappointing score in the dressage, Hazel and Clifford now have the opportunity to make up for lost ground in their strongest discipline.
Cross-country, courtesy of Clifford's thoroughbred qualities, he's very fast, and he definitely can go under time and have no time penalties. When things are going really tough and hard and you're gasping for a breath and most of the people are looking for a bit of shade under a tree, Clifford keeps going. He's a gritty little Australian, but the dressage and the show pony bit, we're still working on it.
The cross-country is an endurance test. 6,527 metres of unrelenting jumps and obstacles going full pelt against the clock. And of all 3 disciplines in this sport, it's potentially the most gruelling for both the rider and the horse, and the most dangerous.
It is right at the top now. I mean, the cross-country terrain is quite difficult, it's quite twisty, so that adds to the complexity of the course. And I think it's fundamental for the riders in Australia to have an event like this with the atmosphere, the public, and to learn to ride in this environment.
The atmosphere is tense as the crowds watch on as some struggle to complete some of the more challenging fences. And then, not long into their test, Hazel and Clifford also come unstuck.
Hazel Shannon, well, what an angle. She jumps the train off. One stride. Oh!
A close call.
And she did really well to stay in the saddle, so well done, Hazel.
But even though they didn't fall, there was an interference with one of the flags, which could mean a 50-point penalty.
That was a very lucky moment. Was she the right side of the flag? Ooh, that's going to be another one for the ground jury. That is an interesting line that she took. She was very, very close.
I thought, oh no, and it was just that heart in the mouth moment. We're really glad that she recovered.
We had a hell of a scare at 6A, 6B. We were smart and we were fast and did 4 strides, but didn't make the turn well enough and knocked the flag out. Now, if they deem that we've gone to the outside of the red flag, sort of veered out, we'll get 50 penalties. We certainly feel that his head and his shoulders went over the fence, but because he was veering left, he's pushed the flag out with his legs.
And as Hazel and Clifford safely cross the final fence, the judgment comes through that they were hoping not to hear.
Hazel Shannon, last year's winner, 50 penalties awarded for going the wrong side of a flag at 6C.
And trainer Heath Ryan is not satisfied. It's a clear-cut case.
We will protest that. The rules clearly say it's head and shoulders. I'm just running that vision through my mind. I'm pretty sure that his head and shoulders did go over it. Now, it's all on video, so it's not going to be my opinion that counts, but we will definitely question that. Yeah. Be cooling him down more than we can do with a... I think just from a competitor's point of view, we would be less than competitive to be questioning the call, and I kind of want to have a look at this myself. Yeah.
Incurring a 50-point penalty would mean they would no longer be in the running to win the event.
How do I, go and protest that?
A devastating blow in their hopes of defending last year's win.
But he's hit it with his feet, is what we will argue, and I think it's a genuine argument.
Yeah. Well, it looked on the big screen. We were in the VIP tent, and on the big screen, we would have thought that she was clear of it.
We didn't even think about it.
I called it and said to Terry, "No, it's okay. She's clear." However, you never know exactly what angle you're looking at.
Well, for a moment, I thought she might fall, so I was kind of stressed out about that. Yeah.
I think Hazel's a little disappointed how she's gone. We haven't lost the war, but we've had a battle that set us back.
So, with the burden of uncertainty, all they can do now is wait and hope their Tokyo dream can stay alive.
There's no news or anything?
I'm still waiting.
The question I'll ask, if there is an element of doubt, the doubt has to go to the rider.
Still to come.
We put in a formal protest.
The dispute heats up.
We fought that tooth and nail.
And so does the competition.
The end goal is a gold medal at Tokyo.
It's day 3 of this equine triathlon. It's show jumping day here in Victoria Park.
It's the final day of the Adelaide 4-star. Disagreeing with the 50-point penalty in yesterday's cross-country, Hazel Shannon and her team lodged an official protest overnight.
News came through that a couple of the riders had their penalties removed, that Hazel's wasn't removed, so after that then it we put in a formal protest and went from there. Heath seems pretty confident this morning and it'd be nice to get the 50 off.
If the 50-point penalty stays, Hazel and Warringah Park Clifford won't score well enough to make it onto the Australian team.
The door was open for us. If we'd run down under time there, as we thought we could, we would have been very close to the lead. I don't know if we'd be in the lead, but we'd be very close.
And that would have then opened the doors for the World Equestrian Games.
Heath, Hazel and Terry receive word that the judges are ready to hear their protest.
Basically, the rule of the FEI as it is states that a run out or not clearing a fence properly is when a horse's head, neck and both shoulders haven't gone through the flag or effectively the extremity of the jump. That is actually the rule that we need to apply.
From our interpretation, and it's a legal interpretation, is that she shouldn't have earned any point penalty for that.
If we have evidence, we spend a lot of time, analysing it and make sure that we come to the right conclusion.
After some heated debate, the judges have reached a verdict. And it's not what they were wanting to hear.
With Hazel, the footage we had for us was conclusive that it didn't fulfil the requirement of the rule, that the head, neck and both shoulders did not pass through the extremity of the jump, and unfortunately we had to go down the penalty route.
Well, I can tell you, we fought that tooth and nail. We were disappointed the ground jury didn't take us on board. We felt we had some very valid points, and we felt that they went with a traditional interpretation of a rule where, in actual fact, we felt that if we'd been in a court of law with people that were going to stick absolutely to the letter of the law, that we would have been a shoo-in. So we were a little surprised we didn't get that. But, suck it up.
It means Clifford and Hazel are not going to get the back-to-back wins here in Adelaide.
I don't think that I could cheer her up, but she'll deal with it in her own way, in her own time, and she seems to be dealing with it really well, and she's tough, and she's got good support.
Their performance so far has been strong enough to maintain their place for Olympic consideration.
Much as we'd have liked to have won, this was never the end goal. The end goal is a gold medal at Tokyo, and we just go, no, this is all contributing. This is all sort of building block moments in the career of Clifford, Wallinga Park Clifford and Hazel.
You're not coming last on the scoreboard.
Second last.
Without the penalty, she would have probably been right up there with the top Australians.
But that will change if they don't jump a clear round in the show jumping. Knocking a rail in this final discipline could spell disaster for the Olympic dream.
Well, he's a good show jumper. He can go clear. I just hope it happens today, but we'll just give it our best shot, and whatever happens, happens.
The beauty of the show jumping element is that it's the least subjective of all. Either you clear the jump or you don't.
Lovely. Show jumping, Clifford is all heart, and he has inside him an ability to stay really careful. And so he tries to leave the rails alone.
And so it's come to this.
Looks super. Good on you.
They must do well to keep the Olympic selectors interested.
Next to jump, it is the 2016 winner of the CCI 4-star. It is Hazel Shannon. Hazel with Terence Snows at Wallinga Park Clifford.
Still to come.
His planks come down very easily.
Can Hazel and Clifford,
my girl,
live up to their reputation?
Last year's winner, Hazel Shannon and Clifford.
Hazel and Wallinga Park Clifford's show jumping test is underway at the Australian International 3-day event.
Great job here last year.
And the pressure is on for a solid clear round to impress the Olympic selectors and keep their hopes alive for Tokyo.
His planks come down very easily.
But Heath Ryan believes that their daggy thoroughbred is in actual fact their secret weapon.
Today, the show jumpers tend to be what we call very strong off the ground. And Clifford, as a thoroughbred, he's used to staying close to the ground and going really fast. Like, the more a thoroughbred climbs into the air, the slower they are.
Round to the next, lovely distance. 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect.
So Clifford will just run a little bit freer around a show jumping course because he uses his pace a little bit just to back and give him a jump into the air. It's a little unconventional, but he is very careful.
So foot perfect so far. This is very tricky. She's going to put an extra stride in, so do 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, paid off. You can do, some of them are going to gallop through there in 6. Lovely. 7, 8, 9, 10. Lovely. 1, 2, 3, 4. That That's clear so far. They've got a big oxer down the bottom there now. He's over, he's just got this final line to come down now. Clear. Now steady, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7.
And he's jumped a fabulous clear round.
My girl.
Willinga Park Clifford is always so very secure in the show jumping phase.
Good girl.
She had a beautiful finish. You couldn't got a better show jump round than that. So she should better go away feeling pretty happy. She's finished on a high note. That's the main thing, so she'll live to fight another day. That's how I see it. Yeah.
They may not have won this year's event, but Willinga Park Clifford and Hazel Shannon have got Australia's attention.
I'm really happy with his performance and how he's going. It just didn't work out this weekend, but that's what makes the wins even better.
Pick the tempo up a little bit.
And from here on in, it's not just the wins in their sights, but the accolade of Olympic gold.
Every moment, every ride goes towards the next Olympics, trying to train and improve, and there's so many hours of planning and riding and training that goes into it.
Just a little shorter, keep the tempo up. Go on. For us, the big goal is Tokyo, and we're not talking about just making the Australian team. We're really completely obsessed with an individual and a team gold medal. And the girl from the bush, Hazel Shannon, and the boy from way down there in Tasmania, Clifford, well, Willinga Park Clifford is, they're really up to it.
All this from a chance pairing of two unlikely champions.
I really love him and I think he likes me, or puts up with me. He's just got a great personality and I just love how he's been the underdog and his great personality has pulled him through. It's been a hell of a journey.
Well, in an incredible twist to this amazing equestrian story, Hazel Shannon and her super thoroughbred Willinga Park Clifford, her coach Heath Ryan and Willinga Park's Terry Snow put in another year's hard work and have come back and won the 2018 Adelaide 4-star event. So now, the Tokyo dream is well and truly alive for this determined team of Aussies. Can she make the team for Tokyo Olympics 2020? Watch this space.
Willinga Park Clifford, the first horse to win this event twice.